talking about the possibility of soul-aligned business and money. Yeah, what does it mean to be soul-aligned with the choices that we make around business and money?
I love this topic because you cannot differentiate soul-aligned business and money from soul-aligned living. And what does it mean to be living in alignment with our soul? And what does alignment even mean? And to me, alignment means balance.
Mm.
It means a feeling of inner peace. It means the inside and the outside feeling like it's matching.
Mm-hmm.
My experience of myself on the inside and my experience of my life on the outside. And I feel like we know when we're in soul aligned business, when we're in soul aligned money, when things are flowing. But it doesn't only mean when things are flowing on the outside, like when money's coming in and money's going out with ease, but also when things are flowing on the inside, when there's a certain feeling of peace on the inside, or trust or faith in God on the inside, even when possibly money is not flowing in that
Yeah.
moment. I think that that's also an experience of soul aligned money and business, because life has its way of ebbs and flows and seasons, winter and summer, spring and fall. And I think that there's something so in alignment, not only about the summer season of money and business, but also in winter season of money and business, while leaning into a certain experience of trust or faith in God or in ourselves or in life.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I think as soon as I thought of alignment, I thought of everything just working out exactly the way I hope for it to be. And that means it's perfect. And that means I'm in alignment. But I love the permission to recognize that there's a possibility for alignment even when there's a struggle. And
Yeah.
my relationship with that is the possibility for the alignment in that experience where I can receive from the outside the outcome that maybe is not what I was hoping for, or the block maybe that's coming through as this way to guide me deeper into an aligned space.
Yeah, because we've spoken on other podcasts about this idea of pain versus suffering, the possibility of having pain versus being in suffering. And I would love to bring us into the possibility of a challenge without it being a struggle, something that's challenging without necessarily being hard. And I
Mm,
think that there's some kind of sweet spot there in which we're really in alignment within challenges that Hashem, God, gives us and brings to us in business and in money.
yeah. I think also there isn't a clean cut formula for this because each person is so individual in their experience and their alignment is going to look very uniquely their own
Yes,
because
absolutely.
all consideration for family, circumstance, needs, wants, desires, all of that, values, most importantly, is such a reflection of the alignment. The alignment is the alignment with the values that you hold. And so, what would be so important for me might not be so important for you. And so, it's really about an inward journey to discover like, what is important to me? What do I value? What do I hold to be true? And finding my alignment in relationship to those aspects of myself, getting quiet and like listening inward to that space.
And nobody can know what your alignment is or what my alignment is besides for me and besides for you, because each of our inner alignment is really within our relationship with our own soul, in the inner chambers of our own heart. And that's something that's really important, because we can look at someone and say, ooh, they're challenged with finances right now. They must not be in alignment,
Mm.
or they have so much flowing right now. They must be in alignment. We cannot judge an outside experience to what the inner alignment is. But very often, when things are flowing and there is an experience of joy and ease, that is an indication of alignment.
Yeah.
And something that I like to tell myself often is a way to get back into alignment or balance for myself when I feel out of flow in my own inner experience is setting a boundary or saying no. Where am I saying yes to too many things? And therefore, I am not allowing this flow, this to move through me, to move through my life, and to move through my world. So when things feel hard or like a struggle, or like I'm pushing or forcing something, where can I actually say no to get into more of a flow, to move into more of ease? And it sounds almost counterintuitive because if I want to move into ease, then saying yes sounds like it's something that would be so
Mhm.
important. But sometimes when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else in a very big way. And examples of that could range from like huge, like saying no to a deal, a big business deal that doesn't align, or a client that doesn't fully align with the mission that you're here to put out in the world, or even something like, am I taking on clients that aren't fully here for my gifts? Or,
Mm.
let's say I know that you were in the event planning business for a while, and there could come a client that's like, can you do this thing where you make these really simple, kind of boring to you, I guess, flowers, and put out a bunch of whatever it is that doesn't necessarily align with your aesthetic or even your art or even your talent that you're here to put into the world? And what would it be like to say no to that so that things that actually do align with your talent come in to the portal that you open up by saying no? So that's one example of so many of ways to say no to really get into a flow inside of our lives.
I feel like that's going to be the coin slogan after this podcast. Say no to get into flow.
Yeah. I think I actually might have learned that line from one of my teachers, and I cannot remember which. So
Oh,
we will credit them in the show notes
okay.
once I remember who that is. Yes.
Cool. Cool. I love it.
Inside of alignment, there's that flow that we're talking about. But in order to have that balance, that aligned experience inward, we need to have both sides of it, the systems and the flow. In Kabbalistic terms, it's chesed and gvura, which is an experience of flow or of kindness. And gvura is this experience of boundaries. And the Torah teaches us about contracts being the masculine container in some way to hold the feminine flow, and bringing in things like contracts, like systems, like being consistent inside of our business practices, paying our employees on time, saying what we said we're going to do. Showing up in these ways are also ways of showing up inside of our soul alignment. Soul aligned business and money is indicated in an experience of flow and an experience of like boundaries or systems.
Yeah. And almost like the boundaries themselves are what hold the flow. It's like when I have water coming out of a spout and there's nothing to contain it, but then I build a little duct system that helps me bring what I need to take it to where it's going, that allows the flow to happen. Otherwise there's just like erratic water flying all over the place. But here I am channeling it, and that container allows for the flow to be contained in a way that it's able to create the things that we're here to create in the soul alignment that we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also makes you think about systems that I know for myself, like I'm a mother, I am a business owner, I wear many hats in my life. And one of my deepest values is to be present in all the experiences that I choose to partake in, and having systems that I've set up in my life to allow me to transition so that I could be where I am fully. And something that I implemented many years ago was a really short, sweet little thing that I added to my life that made a huge difference. It's in order to get to my apartment, I need to take the elevator because I live on the fifth floor. So there's the elevator down and there's the elevator up. When I'm leaving my house, I'm transitioning from mom into successful business owner. And I do that in my way down on the elevator. I make this transition in my mind leaving behind whatever's in the house. I'm going into work now. I'm going to go show up as this successful woman and I'm going to give it all I got. And when I get to work, I give it all I got and I assert myself and I do the work and I create my art and all that stuff. And then when I come back home, there's the transition back, right? So I take the elevator back up to my house. And in that time, in order to be in the flow and the value that I hold of presence, I transition back into mom. And when I come home, I'm like, hey guys, how was your day? I'm making dinner, bathing kids, reading stories, doing homework, because that's so important to me to be present in the experience. So I think that, again, that idea of like containers to hold the flow and to be able to stay in the alignment of the values that you hold so that you could be in the flow in the way that really aligns with what's important, what's valuable to your life.
Yes.
Yeah,
Your
super cool.
soul alignment is presence, which means that the practices to support that, you have practices to support your soul alignment, which is presence. And the only way to know that the practices are important is to know what your soul alignment really is, which for you is presence wherever you are.
Yeah, I think the cool part here is we can start to get curious about what is our values.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
does matter the most to me? Does it matter the most that I work like a dog and just make tons of money and that's the most important thing? Or is it important for me to spend time with my children? Is that a value for me? Is that important to me? Is it that I should be happy with the work that I'm doing and feel fulfilled in my accomplishments? Or is it just to get it done so that I can come home and relax because that's all I really want to be doing? Like, we get to be curious about what is the value that rides the alignment because then we know how to find the systems to align ourselves when we have enough of an understanding and questioning inside and getting quiet, like, what is actually important to me? Because when
Yeah.
I have clarity about what's important to me, then I can really set up systems to support that. And that masculine energy can hold the feminine flow for whatever it is that's coming through.
And your value doesn't have to be the same as mine. And
Absolutely.
the breadwinner in the family's value doesn't have to be the same as the secondary breadwinner in the family's values. And some people's values are money, and money should get, I believe so deeply that money should get in the hands of good people with good intentions. And a value can be, your values can be presence, your value can be connection, your value can be inner peace above anything. Your
Yeah.
value can be family. And your values can also shift and change and morph as the seasons grow. Your value might be one of the breadwinners in the family. Value might be money when their children are young and they need to make ends meet and pay the rent. And their values might really shift when they're in their 60s and 70s and maybe have a retirement plan. The only thing they really care about is spending time with their children and grandchildren. And it might shift so deeply based on seasons, based on time, based on space, based on expansion of consciousness. Sometimes your consciousness expands and then you care about different things. Some people's values are creativity and art. It really shifts person to person and moment to moment sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it made me think of this experience that we went through as a family, where also sometimes we've been doing things for so long by rote that we don't even consider the effects of what it is or what we value because we're just in this like, I go to work every day, I do what I got to do. I'm a loyal employee. I take it seriously. I come on time, all these kind of things. And I remember we went camping in the summertime. This was a few years back and my son Yoni was with us and he went for a walk with Tully, my husband. And in the conversation, he was like mentioning a fun thing that we had done. And Tully realized that he didn't know what he was talking about. And my son made this remark to him was like, well, yeah, because you always leave on Saturday night and don't spend Sundays with us because you're running back to work. And it really stopped my husband in his track. He was like, 1 second. Yes, I do value loyalty. I do value consistency. I do value the fact that I need to make a living for my family. But but this sort of meeting of his son and kind of this remark made him think, but 1 second, is it worth the cost of not being there on Sunday to experience the thing that he's talking about. It really made him stop in his track.
Yeah.
And he ended up going through this midlife growth spurt, is what I like to call it. And he took a year off to really find his inner alignment, to really discover what is it? What are my values here? I've been doing the same thing for 20 years, but it's obviously at this point coming back to me from my own child, our biggest teachers, telling me that this is not actually working. I know that you're making money for our family, but it's also coming at a cost.
Yeah.
And so over that year, which was a really expansive time for us, in some ways contracting because we weren't making a salary in that year, but at the same time expanding because we were really able to get into what is the soul alignment? What's the point of all of this? The point is not just to work and pay your bills. That's become very evident in this conversation. And so he was able to then go back to the job that he had, working less hours and less days and making more money because that's what is an alignment for us and for our family. And yes, and because of that, he's able to take the kids on dates, each one of them independently, so he can spend individual time with his children and develop
Oh,
relationships and the things that are so important, which were important all along. But you're in the flow of just what I do every day and what I have to do and what I've always been doing. And I have to make the money and I have to do the thing. He didn't even notice until his son brought it to his attention. And it really allowed this moment of inwardness to be like, whoa, hold on. No, my value is not just to make the money. That's not the value. The value is to be here with my family and not to miss the moments that are the memories that are everything that's worth living for.
oh.
So that was a really powerful experience for us. But I'm curious about, well, what if I don't have that? First of all, what if I don't have the courage to just stop what I'm doing for a full year to figure that out? And what if I am in a job because I don't really see how I can be doing something else right now because I do need to provide for my family, but how can I find alignment together with what needs to be done?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, is Tully taking the kids on dates since that thing? Is that a new?
Since that thing, yeah,
Wow.
he
It's
takes the
so
kids on
cool.
their own individual dates and stuff. He's also just around. He's
Yeah.
around on Sundays. He's around on Fridays. Even just his presence, just his energy to be around, just someone I can rely on, someone that my kids can be like, Abba, can you whatever? It makes it so easy. It's just a part of the experience. Sometimes it's special dates, but sometimes it's just being a part of,
Yeah.
being a part
Wow.
of. Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing. Such a
Pretty
beautiful
wild.
thing.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. I'm
Pretty
so
wild.
grateful. I'm so grateful for the pause to get back into alignment because our life is exponentially expansive and so much more beautiful because of it.
Yeah. And I'm hearing how you feel the expansion even within the contraction of actual finances. If you're not working, you're not making money. That there's
Yes.
the math, but there's
Yes.
a real expansion that's taken place for all of you and your family because of this. And it just goes to show like the expansion is so beyond the money. It's so beyond the money.
Yeah. And it was actually interesting because over that year, he had so many different interviews with different business opportunities. And so many of them, once he understood his value, once he was able to be like dropped in alignment with the value was, it doesn't matter that it's going to make me X amount of more dollars if it's going to take me 2 hours there and 2 hours back from work, because that's not in alignment.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait it out because the thing that's in alignment is going to come. Because God did not bring this consciousness to me without what he has to offer me. And I'm going to be patient. And there were times already, and I was getting a little impatient and a little nervous about it because I was like, dude, it's been months. And how are you going to get by? It's really getting tight. It's really
Yeah.
getting tight. But he believed, he was like, if I came into this consciousness and my child brought this consciousness into me, it's because it's meant to be. I'm not meant to just take a different job that, yeah, maybe I'll make more money or a different configuration. But again, I don't get the values of what we were hoping for. And he waited it out and then he got it. He really did. He got all the things that he desired that were in alignment. And he's
Yes.
today in his job that is fully aligned with both how he wants to spend his time at work and how he wants to spend his time at home with his children.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Before I get into the next question, I just want to give a shout out to Telly and to
Yeah.
Honey because and to the Frankel family because it's such a beautiful story and that I know is going to be so inspiring for so many. And now I want to get into your juicy question, which is where is the spectrum of staying versus following your soul alignment no matter what? And I think each of us, the answer to that question is the same as the beginning of this podcast. It's not a black and white answer. For some people, we just need to go. We need to follow the alignment. I have a friend who just left the country and is living somewhere else now because it's just where her soul told her to go. And I know so many people who make radical shifts after many years of staying in the same thing to do something different. And that's one way how to do things, but it's not the only way. It's
Yeah.
not this big, huge outside shift that needs to happen in order for the inner shift to happen. Sometimes it looks like that on the outside, but sometimes you might be doing something, or we might be doing something in a way. And what our soul is actually asking us is to stay and micro shift. And what that looks like is instead of shifting on the macro level, like switching our whole life around and turning our whole life over, which for some people is their soul alignment,
Yeah.
especially if maybe they've gotten so out of their soul alignment that now they need to really just do a switcheroo. But for some people, their soul alignment is to create micro shifts in what they value while still retaining the consistency of where they're at. So let's say somebody has a really successful business. Sometimes their soul alignment could be leaving it and going and moving to something else because that's what their soul and heart is saying. And sometimes that might look like, ooh, what is my values? Spending more time with my family? Well, can I outsource my weaknesses? Or as I once heard a business mentor say, hire my weaknesses, right? What are the things
Mm,
that take me more time to do than I'd like to do? What are the things that I'm spending so much time doing and I'm not that good at? What
yeah.
are the things that I'm not that good at? Full stop. We each have our own strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes when we think that we need to be good at everything when actually we don't. And what
Yeah.
are the things that maybe I am good at, but I don't like to do?
Yeah.
And where are the ways in which I can keep this going, but create a different constellation, a different way of keeping it going that could really work. Maybe it means not traveling in to, let's say you live in New Jersey and not traveling into New York every single day to work. Or what if it means adding more travel into your work if you want to also see the world more and you can create that, or taking some travel away. There's so many different ways. Or what is your honesty in terms of, let's say you want to spend more time with your kids and you're saying, I can't do that. I work too hard. But then when you come home, you're on your phone the whole time. Where can we get more honest about our values and the ways that we're showing up with our systems around our values? And those are really important questions. And they're not to shame ourselves or others. It's really just to get honest with ourselves and see how can we expand our soul alignment to include the life that we really desire to live.
Yeah. My thought when you're saying that, I was thinking it could even be like I work really hard and I do the work that I do, and this is what it's doing great. Thank God it's bringing a lot of money. But what would it be like to include an art class? Because that's something that excites me. Yes, offloading is always an amazing way to create more time for the things that I desire. And then it's also like, what do I desire? Because when I do those things, I bring myself closer to my inner alignment because
Yeah.
those things make me feel alive. So, how can I fuel my own alignment by getting curious about, first of all, what am I curious about? What do I love to do? And spending time doing those things, which could be
Yeah.
spending time with my family. And it could also mean going out for coffee with a friend. And it can also mean doing yoga in the morning because that helps me stay in alignment. That's another system that I could put into place, that masculine energy to create the system to be able to contain my flow when I'm taking care of myself and I'm not overburdening myself in ways that I have to do all the things that have to get done. They're going to happen anyways. but can I also take care of myself? Can I also include the things that help me stay in my own alignment? So even though maybe the part of work that I don't love as much, but it pays the bills and it does great, great. But if I'm also including the parts that are fueling me, it's going to make the whole experience different. My whole alignment with even the job that's not perfectly in line, because also that's a unique thing to find too. In reality, we're not going to love everything. That's also not so real. I don't want to paint this picture that when I'm in alignment, everything's just perfect and we're just in this perfect place. Not true. Everything has its things, but how can I offer myself the most in the experience? How can I give myself what I need so that I could, even though some parts of it I don't love, but it becomes easier when I've taken care of myself. It becomes easier when I included the thing that is much more in alignment with my soul.
And how can I shift it? Because it's not an illusion of perfection that we're chasing. That's not
No.
reality. But how can I shift from my soul alignment from like struggle or hardship or to challenge, soul
Yeah.
aligned challenge? And
Yeah.
soul aligned challenges don't necessarily feel better, like good always, but they feel good. There's something inside of it that you want to wake up for, that you want to do, that you want to accomplish. And I think that we're speaking about a formula here. It's when you want to get into more soul alignment, it's what can I subtract? What can I say no to? And what can I add? What can I say yes to? And
Love it.
subtract might be I want to offload my graphic design to someone who takes a lot quicker on, I don't know, Canva to do graphics. And maybe I might say yes to adding in to learning an instrument or going to a dance class. Or maybe I'm subtracting an experience of I want to be the one to do the designing in my business and not give it over to an assistant, but then I'm adding in more help at home so that I can spend time with my kids instead of cleaning the house the whole time.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
so many different ways, so many different constellations in which, in small and big ways, in micro and macro ways, in which we can add and subtract to create more alignment, which another word for alignment, again, is balance, or the Hebrew word for it is tiferet, a real feeling of balance inside of our lives.
Yeah, I love it. I will say also, like, I resonate more with the impulsive, sort of excited transitions and excited ways of moving into new ideas. And even though in the moment it feels like that, but really everything is a long time coming,
Yeah.
ultimately. In the moment it seems like, oh my God, she's so crazy, she's doing this thing. But actually, underneath, there's things that are moving for a while before it explodes in the way that it does. But I will say for myself, I've been in floral design and event production business for 17 years. And we started off as a mom and mom flower shop, me and my friend Fradel. The company is Mimulo. And then about, I think it was like 12 or 13 years into the business, we decided to go from the retail aspect to shut the retail aspect out and move into full event production only because the money was great. Markup is way more substantial. And what our families needed was more money to be able to just, a Jewish lifestyle, whether you like it or not, you're paying private tuition and everything else that comes with it. So it kind of made more sense, right? So we
Yeah.
moved into that. But what I didn't know when I did that transition was what I would miss and what I would lose out in the retail business. And then we were going through a rough patch and deciding what do we want to do? How do we want to move forward? What's the plan now? What's the plan of action? And wildly enough, a friend of mine who I hadn't spoken to in a really long time, her name is Fern, she called me out of the blue. I hadn't spoken to her probably for a year and a half almost. And she's, Con, I just want to tell you that you need to be doing something every day that makes you happy. If you're not happy every day with what you're doing, you are not in soul alignment. And my brain blew up inside of my head. I was like, what? Fern, do you understand the synchronicity of this phone call right now? We're just having this conversation about where are we going? And I sat in meditation with happiness guiding my way. And it brought me back to my art. It brought me back to people. it brought me back to retail, the place where I receive the most vitality. And I realized that my motivation is not necessarily money, even though, yes, it's important. I need to make money to pay my bills. So obviously, it's an important thing, but it was not worth the loss of the people that I love so much and the art on demand that I got to experience when I was in the retail. And so just recognizing that although we live in a culture and a society where we're programmed to believe that money is a really high value, and if you're making money, don't complain and keep doing that thing. But actually, it's not necessarily true because for me, it's not my highest value. For me, my highest value is to be happy, is to be in an environment and in an industry that allows me to feel fulfilled and happy and good and joyous and enjoy my experience of what I'm doing every day.
And your happiness is in creating art. And I feel like that's your deepest joy is when you're in creative creation of art mode. And your retail job gave you the experience of like seeing people every day, the rush of creating the art on the spot. They wanted that bouquet. You're creating it for them in an hands-on experience. Whereas event planning is so much more macro. You're much more detail oriented than art oriented. And it's also art in a certain way, but it's so cool to see that your happiness is art. That's
Yeah.
your, yeah,
And to tell you the truth, I'm so good at production.
yeah,
I'm so good
you
at
are.
it. I'm so good at time
You are.
management. I'm so
Yeah,
good at delegating. I'm so good at big vision. I'm so good at organization. So good at it.
yeah,
But it's not what was bringing me life
yeah,
anymore. And that beautiful invitation to follow my happiness. Again, how do we find our alignment? We get curious and we go inside of ourselves. And then it shows up. It shows up. If we ask ourselves the question and we sit quietly for a little bit, it starts to manifest in shapes and colors and sounds all around us. It's just part of what happens because our soul knows. Our soul actually knows what it's here to do. It's all of the outside things that tell us that we must be doing this and that that kind of pulls us away from that. But if we're quiet and curious, we will come back inside of ourselves and we will find that thing. And I'm so grateful because everything is from God, everything. And this random phone call with a friend who I haven't spoken to in so long, who offered me this tiny nugget just in the moment. I recognize you're not just Fern. You're a ministering angel of God who came here with a message for me so that I can get back into alignment. Because what I am here to do is be in alignment. Be in alignment with my business, be in alignment with my money, because that's when I'm in flow. And that's what I can give and receive and receive and give with ease.
yeah.
Because if I'm forcing it, if I'm pushing it, if I'm chasing it, it can't be that I'm in alignment. It can't.
Yeah. And I want to mention also here that if once somebody opens up to be in alignment, which means to get more into balance in soul aligned business and money, or even just soul aligned living or soul aligned parenting, etc., they will receive synchronicities on their journey. And
Yeah.
it's like looking out for that phone call, for that sign, for that. You'll start to notice that when you want to live more in soul alignment, you'll start to see all the signs pointing you in the directions that you want to go to. And the more you open to it, the more the signs come. And first, it's like, oh my gosh, did you see that sign? And then it just becomes part of your reality that you start to begin to see the synchronous signs pointing you towards your soul's most aligned, most imbalanced, and most joyous journey. So when you see a sign, when you hear a sign, take them seriously because it's pointing you home to your really most deepward, inward, peaceful existence on this earth. And I want to also presence that you're in the process of leaving a business that you're very good at. And there's also an experience of leaving something that you actually love. And I will share that over the past 2 to 3 years, I was running these really successful and absolutely love of my life 6-week groups, women groups of for women, taking them through a very deep process of healing, thousands of reviews of miraculous experiences that people had, really, really just some of the most soul aligned work of my life. And something inside of my heart and my soul told me that something new is coming. And I didn't necessarily even fully know what was next. But on the evening of the 13th 6-week group, 13 rounds, I ended the groups. And it was really amazing. It felt so aligned. The income was really wonderful for me. The outcome for the people who were joining and for myself, it made me into the teacher that I am. It made me into the leader that I am in many ways. It gave me so many gifts. And I knew that if I would continue, it would continue to give me and the people who are joining a gift. And I still chose to end it because something inside of me told me to. And there's a possibility of letting something good die. There's a
Yeah.
possibility of letting something good die. And thank God I have a lot of other things going on. I run retreats and I have one-on-one clients and things are really flowing. It was okay to do that. And when I let the good thing die, I realized there are not many times in life that we get to let a good thing die because very often something has to die because it's not working.
Yeah.
We're not making money from it, or in business or in money, or maybe it just doesn't feel aligned, or maybe the results are not worth the effort, or maybe something else is being abandoned, like a part of ourself or our children or a partner or whatever it might be. And here there was this experience where everything was really good. And one of the most powerful experiences of my life to let a good thing die just because something inside of me said so. But the only reason why I was able to do that and walk into that is because I am in communication with my inner being. And because I take the time to go inward, to see and to listen and to hear the voices and the guiding angels, not just outside, only outside, also outside, but also the ministering angels that lives inside of me, those parts of me that speak. And I need to get silent in order to hear them. And I wonder what it would be like to offer our audience an experience of going inward so that you can hear the whispers before you have to hear the screams. So that you can
Mm.
hear, you can allow for the experience of movement before something pushes you, the universe pushes you into the next place. And all those things are okay. There's no bad or good, right or wrong, better or worse, higher or lower experience. But giving yourself the opportunity to make a soul shift, a soul move, listening to the whispers of your unconscious made
Mm.
conscious, listening to the whispers of your heart and your soul, and moving along with the rhythm and dance of your soul and your inner being is it's such a profound experience, such a profound experience. And that is really the experience of moving with trust versus fear,
Yeah.
with the experience of moving with listening versus being pushed. Yeah, I wanted to share that as well.
I think that's such an empowering and inspiring possibility to even consider. I don't think I've encountered that in my life that somebody chose to stop something that was working really well. Most of my experience in my life is things end because we weren't listening to the whispers and then it ended up having to scream and then it was like, "Oh man, I better abort ship before this sinks."
And then it just kicks you in the
Experience.
butt.
Yeah. So it's really inspiring. It's really inspiring to know that even though something is good, if I am in tune with my insides, I create space for whatever else is meant to arrive by saying that was a really great run and I'm going to close that chapter and now I'm going to open myself up to what else the universe has to offer me and see where that takes me. It's not because you had something else lined up. It's because you had spaciousness to listen inward and to trust that it's taking you to the next place, that something else is going to emerge. And the space here is what it needs to become alive, to guide you to wherever it's taking you. I think it's so empowering. It's just such an empowering consideration. Even if it's great, I get to be curious about, is it aligned? And
Yeah.
if it isn't, I can trust. I can trust that I don't have to stay in fear of, oh no, but I must stay with this because that's what's working and that's what's bringing my money in. And so I have to, I have to, I have to. It's like, well, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't. Maybe there's something else here.
And the expansion of consciousness is the question, is being able to not be afraid to ask the question.
Wow, Rifki, that's your courage and perspective is just really incredible.
Thank you. And I want to talk also about alignment in the concrete details of it. So we spoke about soul alignment and the energetics of it. And I want to speak about alignment and the word money and the prices that we charge for the things that we offer. And this specifically is for people who are more in like service-based jobs or in helping professions, because in other jobs, let's say you run a grocery store, most of the time the prices are in alignment with the going rate or things like that. But then there are professions where prices are really soul aligned, which means that they're very different alignment for different people. And I like to always think about the question when I work with businesses or business owners, because that's an aspect of the work that I do. The question of, would you pay for the thing you're charging for? And not only would you pay, hypothetically pay, do you pay the prices that you are charging? Do you pay the price for the retreat that you're running? Would you pay the price for the one-on-one session that you're running? Would you
Mm.
pay the price for the thing, the helping or the service-based offering that you're offering? And that's a really important question around integrity and prices. And it's different, right? It's different. Let's say somebody here that's listening to this sells diamonds, right? And the jewelry that they sell is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Them paying for that jewelry is less important than you paying for the thing that you're charging for in a helping or in a service-based profession. And I had this experience with one of my mentors who I've known already now for 8 years.
Wow.
And at some point in time, I started charging more money than her. She had this fixed rate, and I was started charging more money than her. And she's definitely been working with people for many, many years. And I went to her in a session and I said, I started charging more money than you. The other mentors and therapists and practitioners that I'm paying and the courses that I'm investing in are coming to be a lot more money out than money in. And in order to make this work, there was a lot more money that needed to come in. And I've been investing in many courses and trainings and my own coaches and therapists and healers, and really continue to, since I began this work, to invest in really large ways. And she looked at me in the Zoom screen in what felt like in the eye, and she said, Rivky, if I would have ever invested in the way that you do, in even a quarter of the way that you invest, I would charge much higher prices. She said, your alignment is not my alignment. And she
Mm.
said, I know I've been doing this for much longer, but she said, you have a different constellation. You have a different experience in this world. You invest in much more radical ways in your own education and in your own embodiment. And she said, that's the integrity for you. And she
Mm.
told me, as I get older, I want to charge less and less money. She said, my husband makes a lot of money. I don't really need it.
Mm.
And that's my alignment. That's my integrity. She said, I want to see you charging more right now, because that's the way that you're going to be able to meet what you're doing with robust integrity. Otherwise, something's draining that isn't filling up. And she said, I don't know anybody who invests in their business and in themselves and in courses and in learning and in education and in retreats and in embodiment practices in the way that you do. She said, I know nobody like that. And that's why your prices need to be in line with your investments. And that's a question where each of us really need to go inward and ask that question to ourselves. Am I charging too much? And am I charging too little? And where is that alignment inside of that space so that I can show up doing what Hashem, what God wants me to be doing in the way that's the most robust? And I'll just take our audience through my own process of values. I realized that that's part of my values, being in integrity in my prices in that way, in the ways that I do. And also, I want to be able to serve a larger audience. And therefore, I started a podcast. I have a blog. I offer things that are in lower price points so that people can join periodically. But if somebody wants to work with me one on one or in a high touch way, then the prices are higher because that's the integrity of the specific constellation. I keep using that word because it really lands for me, that I'm in. And inviting everyone in our audience to really look at what it is for you. Are you just hiking up your prices because that's what other people are doing when really your investments are not in the same way that they are? Are your prices really low when you're investing so much in yourself and somehow you're just not making ends meet? What is your alignment? And can you get honest with yourself, not necessarily worrying what other people might think of you, because that's a really big point here, but thinking about how can you be in your own inner alignment, in your own inner balance, in your own inner Tiferet energy.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, so stunning. And yes, I would echo what your mentor said. I also don't know anyone who has invested in the way that you have into what you offer to yourself and to the universe. It's really deeply inspiring to be in a life that's alongside you and to be so inspired by the way that, yeah, that you really invest. It's such an epic, beautiful, beautiful thing to witness. And it's just reminding me that I was once in a container for 6 months with a coach. And as we were getting closer to the end of the container, she really was trying to encourage me to raise my prices for my coaching. And from that codependent people pleasing part of myself, I just went with it.
Please, the coach.
Please the coach, literally.
Wow.
Please the coach. I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take the jump. I'm going to jump into that space. And I did. And I charged much more than I was charging before. And I did. I had clients, but something didn't feel right inside of me. It didn't. It didn't feel like integrity because it wasn't. Because the motivation for it was to please my coach. And
Wow.
that's why I made that shift at that time. And now I have come back into my own alignment, back into my integrity, back into what I value. And I have readjusted myself to feel into what feels right for me. And now I'm in that price point that feels right for me. And it feels so honest and so right.
You've lowered your prices.
I've actually lowered my prices. Yes. And it
You're
wasn't that I wasn't being matched with the prices when they were higher. I was. The clients for that price range came through, but something inside of me didn't feel right. And
Yeah.
that didn't feel right for me to show up like that, even for clients who are willing to pay the money. And now I've readjusted into a space that is just feels like, yeah, this is integrity because this is also what I would spend, which is
Yes.
in the range of what feels right for me in this moment of my life, of what I would put out for this kind of healing work. So it was just kind of wild that sometimes we can get pushed or we're like, yeah, we're just going to take the jump, but it's not in integrity and it just doesn't land.
Honey, you inspire me endlessly, 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 and your integrity is so beautiful. And I know the feeling of being in integrity with prices in my own way and watching you do it in your way. And we are an example right now of the possibility in the universe of integrity looking different ways for
Yeah.
different people. And what do we share? We both feel the flow and the balance on the inside. And what are we also sharing? The experience of clients coming toward us on the outside, things feeling much more easeful and effortless on the inside and on the outside in the
Yeah,
space.
that's what's actually so interesting because the prices that were higher were working with clients that were less in alignment with the level of work that I want to be doing. And
Yeah.
now the clients that I'm receiving, there's something there that is raw and vulnerable and honest and real and highly conscious. That is
Yeah.
so much more in alignment with the work that I want to be doing. And it's so
Yeah.
wild. Like I actually took my price down to meet the client that I'm looking for, which is a high frequency human being.
And,
Not just because you can spend the money because you have the money and so that's why, but really because you're here because you're ready to do the work and you're ready to make leaps and bounds into spaces of what you would love to cultivate in your life. And now you are. It's so
and
cool.
I have the same exact experience as you in a reverse, like a different price range. And
Yeah.
raising those prices gave me the exact same alignment that I'm desiring. So it's really, really cool to witness what it looks like to be in integrity and how it doesn't look like the same thing. It's what is your soul aligned business? What is your soul aligned money?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm actually so glad we got to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Super great. The other thing I want to talk about is how to offer this wisdom to our children.
Mm,
How can we offer our children insight into their own values around money, not necessarily business so much, but their own values to come into alignment with the things that they desire? I
right.
feel like we come from this consumer world where all day long, especially my teenage kids, well, daughters more than sons, let's just put it that way, because that's just the culture that we're in. But it's like, I want, I want, I want, I want, I want, I want. There's so much
Yeah.
wanting in this world. There's so much that is being consumed in the way that it's advertised towards specifically our children more than our adults. I spend way less time consuming than my children do, or my
Yeah.
teenage daughter
There are
more
many
specifically.
adults, though, who are spending.
Also, that's true. That's true. Consumer mentality in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
And I think back to my own childhood and like where did I learn my values around alignment and money and an alignment with the things that I really desire. And I remember, so I had $50 for Hanukkah gelt.
Hmm.
Hanukkah gelt is like the money that you get as a gift on the holiday of Hanukkah. And we went to G and Sons in Brooklyn. It's under the train tracks. I don't think that store still exists anymore. And I found this special edition Barbie that was a bride Barbie, and it cost $50. All of the money that I had. And my mom was like, that's it. It's going to be this one purchase. I just want to make sure this is what you desire to buy. And with full conviction, I was like, yes, this is my value. This is what I want. This is what I desire. And I want to spend all my $50 on this one thing. And it was my pride and joy. I took such good care of this Barbie because I spent all of my money on it. And I made the choice to buy it. I made that choice. I had the opportunity to be asked, is this what you really desire? And to check in with myself and say, yes, it's what I want. And so I took care of it and I played with it and I was delicate with it and I put everything back inside the box and I really owned my skin in the game, which was my investment in the thing that I valued. And
Yeah.
I remember one time I went away for Shabbos to a cousin's house, and my brothers got a hold of it, and they ripped the legs off and the head off. They just had a field day with all my Barbies, and they ripped everything to shreds. And my mother felt so bad, and she tried to put it all back together for me because she also understood how valuable it was to me that I made this choice to spend my money on it in this way. And it's interesting
Yeah.
because every day I hear about a concert my daughter wants to go to or a thing that they want to buy. And I remember even when I was a teenager, I went to Talking Fashion in Flatbush with my mom to go shopping. And I tried on this denim skirt, and it was such a cool skirt. It had like three drawstrings, one on top, one in the middle, one on the bottom, and you can wear it in a bunch of different ways, and it was really funky. And the skirt cost $50. And my mother's like, that's more than I was considering to spend on a denim skirt. I was thinking more like 30. Will you meet me part way? And I was like, yes, yes. I recognized that it was important to me. I valued this skirt. I appreciated what it was. I liked the way it looked. I wanted it. And so I met her halfway or part way and I bought the skirt and I wore this skirt to shreds. I wore it until there was nothing left of it. If people remember me in my teenagehood, they probably remember the skirt because that's how much I wore it. And I really feel like that sort of check in really offered me a question to ask inside of myself of how much do I value this?
Mm.
Because I've had this conversation with my daughters who's like, I want to go to this concert and it costs like $175. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to spend $100. Are you willing to spend 75? And many times when that question is offered, now I get to check in with my value. How valuable is this to me?
Yeah.
Does it really matter? Or do I just want to do the thing that everyone's doing because everyone's doing it and I just want to be in that scene? It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to spend the $75 of your hard-earned money because you babysat or whatever you did, then yeah, then you'll own it and love it. But many times when I ask, how much are you willing to chip in? The answer is, I don't want to chip in anything. Well, then it doesn't, that means that you don't really value it that much. And we get
Yeah.
to have that gauge
A
of like
little check-in point.
check-in point. Yeah, offering our children a possibility to check in with themselves,
Yeah.
you know?
Beautiful. It's beautiful to consider a check-in point that children can have that then they can see what is it that I actually really want. And also it helps to see the consumerism and where it really comes from, right? And checking in for ourselves. What do we talk about at the dinner table? What do the adults talk about in front of the children? If you're a Jewish person listening to this, what do you talk about at the Shabbat table? Are we talking about wealth and money and people with money and things, or are we talking about inside things? Are we looking our children in the eye when we're talking to them? Are we getting more excited about getting a new pocketbook than seeing our child? How are we showing up? Because I always think about this with children, it's show, don't tell. You could speak till
Yeah.
you're blue in the face about whatever you want to speak about, but your actions and your embodiment speak so much louder than words. And the root of any overconsumption, whether it's things, whether it's money, whether it's food, whatever it might be, is from something else underneath that feels like it's lacking. So, what's the thing under the thing? What's the thing under the table? What is the child really asking for? Are they asking for adventure? Are they asking for fun? Are they asking for connection? Because there's such happy people with so little, and there's such sad people with so much. And I see that over and over again with my clients and working with very successful people and with businesses who have a lot, but a lot on the outside and the alignment on the inside, the peace on the inside, the balance on the inside is so not where they desire it to be. And I work with quite a few clients that their children ask them for a lot of things. And they wonder, are my children spoiled? One of my clients asked me, where did I go wrong? That when I don't give my child something, they freak out. And I
Mm.
ask them, I get really curious about, was gifts the way you gave them love? Did they receive any of the other love languages like physical touch or quality time or words of affirmation? Or were gifts and things really the way in which you show them your love? Because then if you're saying no to them, then what they're experiencing under the table is the no to the love. So
Yeah.
just notice that their reaction, there is a reason for that big reaction. And sometimes you can even have these open conversations with your children, as one of my clients did, where he sat down with his child and said, what are you really asking for when you're asking me for more things? Because I know you have everything you could ever want or need, and every vacation and
Mm.
every trip. And the child started crying. The adult child started to cry. I think the child was in their 30s or 40s and said,
Wow.
I want connection. That's what I really want. But you're not
Mm.
available for that. You don't even make eye contact with me. And the parent came with so much humility and said, how can I learn how to connect when it makes me uncomfortable? Oh, now we're talking. Oh,
Wow.
now we're in the
Wow.
field. Now we're in the game. Now we're in the conversation. So just
Wow.
understand that over consumption and misaligned money and business is never the problem. It's the symptom
Yes.
of the underlying problem. And when we can find and presence and take the underlying problem out of the unconscious realm and make it conscious, then we can become free and we can come into alignment and we can come back into balance and we can come back into flow. And I want to end this podcast by blessing everyone listening to this with soul aligned business, soul aligned money, which is just a symptom of soul aligned living. And I bless us all with an overflow of shefa, which is abundance in Hebrew, in of all kinds and in all ways, inside and outside, because we're here in this world to enjoy, to be free, to give and receive in ways that are really abundant and flowing and receptive. Thank you so much for listening.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
And amen.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, everybody who's here, and can't wait till next time.
Till next time.
We are so humbled and delighted to have you with us. Our podcast is Real Life in Real Time, where we embark on curious conversations that expand our awareness and capacity for all that is possible.
The Possibility of the Universe podcast is only possible because of you, our audience. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for listening. I'm Connie. First and foremost, I am a believer. I am a wife. I am a mother of 6 beautiful children. I am the co-owner of Mimulo, luxury florist and event production company. I am a life coach working with both individuals and couples to empower them to step into their own possibilities in this universe.
Hi, I'm Rivky, and I love life. I love heart-centered living. I love to be curious, and I love to connect with all things. I started off as a social worker and developmental therapist, and now I work as a somatic and subconscious practitioner using modalities such as somatic healing, breathwork, bodywork, hypnotherapy, and some really magical and incredible quantum healing technologies. I work with individuals, couples, run retreats and courses using these modalities to help people find the most freedom, presence, aliveness, and embodiment inside of their lives. The ways to contact us are through my website, rivkygross.com. That is spelled RIVKY dash, the straight line dash, gross, GROSS.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Chani at Muckhome Sanctuary, and myself at Rivky Gross. We are here for any and all questions and feedback through the contact form on the website, and we're so looking forward to hearing from you.